It's time to stop fearing blunt to fakies. There are a few things that you can do right now to make blunts easier, more approachable, and safer. Like and subscribe so you don't miss the next video from us. Let's get right into it. Blunt to fakies. One of the scariest tricks to learn on a mini ramp. It's difficult to learn, but it's easier to master. Your biggest hurdle is just gonna be fear. When we're doing a blunt, we wanna make sure that you get your tail locked onto the coping in a predictable way with a little bit of space between your tail and the concrete. This will make it easy for you to actually pop to get a strong ollie out of it. And we're also gonna discuss how you can avoid hang-ups by getting your front trucks over the coping this way. That's really the sauce. If you can avoid your front trucks on the way in, you really have nothing to worry about. It becomes a lot more similar to like a rock to fakie. Let's go over some common mistakes that you'll run into early on in your blunt journey. The first one is just ending too much over the deck. This is gonna make it impossible. This comes from actually two things working together at once. You can just go too fast and there's nothing you can do and you'll end up over the deck. But you could also have a weak back foot. If you're not pushing into the coping very hard with your back foot when you're in the blunt, it's just gonna tip you over a little bit more than necessary. So one thing you can practice is actually a slow fly out where you jam your back foot into the coping and then just slowly stand on the deck. You'll start to get a feel for gaining confidence of planting your back foot. One of the more scary, common mistakes when you're learning blunts is just not getting your wheels high enough. And it kind of does that half blunt thing where you almost have tension and then it kind of like jumps out of it and you end up stuck in a rock to fakie and you're trying to jump, and that one's very annoying. I'm not really gonna show an example because that takes like too much talent, but like not getting into the blunt is one of the scarier mistakes. So I actually don't mind if you end up too much on the deck for a while you're figuring out your speed. But as you slow down, make sure you're confirming your tail onto the coping and making that the first step of each blunt. You'll miss the blunt when you start trying to do everything at once. When you try to get in and out all at one time instead of letting it be like 1, 2, 3. So another mistake with blunts that are really common is just not going fast enough and reaching the tail too high, and it's scary. And you just end up like almost upside down in the ramp. Really the big problem with that is the fact that your tail is stuck to the concrete and you actually can't get a pop from that position. To get a pop, you need some space between your tail and the concrete. So if you're upside down and backwards, your board's stuck on the coping, your head is low, it's just not a good situation to be in. Another common mistake that I see is people leaning their upper body too far forward on the way out. And I get it, because you're in the blunt and you're trying to go back in the ramp fakie, and it feels like you have to get really steep to do that. And actually, the common process is lean too far back, and then your instincts kick in, so you adjust by leaning forward in the air. And that weight shift the wrong way creates this huge loop out motion, right? If I do an ollie and I lean forward, it just keeps going. So we just want to ollie out of the blunt in a way where we don't have to adjust our balance. We don't have to move our upper body forward and backwards. All of these mistakes can be solved just by going at the right speed and having a good ollie. Blunts are scary. I get it. It's common when you're scared to want to try really hard to fix it. But even though they're scary, blunts are simple. Whenever I'm going about learning a new trick, we're gonna start with the technical aspect. We need to know what's going on. But we're also gonna do it in the simplest way possible, where we can confirm a make early on so you can build confidence. In this case, the easiest version of a blunt to fakie will be a small Ollie Fakie. What we're gonna do is make sure that we're pumping up the transition just a little bit. You can see my legs extending throughout the bottom of that transition. We're gonna connect that motion to the pop. Okay, this is just an Ollie Fakie. That doesn't necessarily turn into a blunt. The adjustment we're gonna make is weight on our Ollie, so we're all the way at the top of our up and down. And then we're gonna Ollie down the transition. So I'm gonna take off higher than where I land. On camera, it doesn't look like much. It looks like maybe an inch or two sliding down the transition. If at all. Maybe my front trucks are just landing where my back trucks took off. But think about it. That's exactly what we want to do. We're gonna Ollie with our back trucks right here. We have to land with our front trucks just below that. So we're gonna replicate that on the transition. This will give you that feeling, what it's like to float down the ramp, into the ramp. When you're doing this, the feeling that it replicates will likely be that one where your shoulders want to fall forward and then you end up looping out. That's not a great position to be in a blunt. It's not terrible either. So you're just gonna have to find that zone that you're comfortable with on landing. If you're too far forward, right? Let's say this is you. How do you fix that? Because you're likely to just go like this. You're likely to just, like, I'm here, okay, so I'm gonna lean back. Neither are the answer. You gotta leave your upper body still and use your hips to adjust your balance. So whenever you're on the transition and you want to get more over the board, you're gonna have to sit down and back on it. Like, you can shift your board forward a little bit, bend your knees, and almost push your hips down and back. You see how my upper body is forward, but it's not this way, right? This is how we sit on that tail side of the board. And it feels safe because even though you're way on that like back truck, you're not risking going over the top. So just be really disciplined of having that good balance with strong pressure on the back foot on the way out of your Ollie Fakies. To do a rock to fakie in a way that works for blunt to fakies, you're gonna wanna put pressure on your front foot while you're on the coping. Let me show you. At this stage where both your wheels are floating in the air, all four wheels, you can push on your front foot and feel it push against your back foot just a little bit. What I mean is at this stage, your back foot's on the board, right? And you can push on your front foot into the front bolts and get maximum pressure up on your back foot. This is a pressure point that you will feel in the blunt to fakie while you're powering up your pop. For our first blunts, let's start with blunt rock to fakie. What I want you to focus on here is tipping your shoulders so they're in line with the deck, like you are standing on flat ground. We're not gonna be leaning back into the ramp for this one, okay? With your back foot on the tail, I want you to try to jump as high as you can off of your back foot and land like so. The majority of your weight on your front foot. It's important to jump high because that is what is gonna release your back trucks from the coping. Let's cover the mechanics of the jump to make sure we are going about it the right way. You will feel a lot of pressure on the ball of your back foot on the tail. This is good, this is normal. When you jump, you will see your back foot float into the ramp just a little bit. Your front foot will have to come up and inside to release the nose. So I don't want you just to jump straight up like this. When you jump, I want you to bring your front foot in. Bringing your front foot in will release the tail from the coping. And since we're standing up flat over the deck, we will stay up here. If you don't move your front foot into the ramp at all and you just jump, you're just gonna stay up on the deck. You have to drag the nose into the ramp and then push it back. Your front foot motion is very simple. When you're in the blunt and you jump, just bring your front foot towards your back shoulder just a little bit. No matter what angle you're at on any transition, your body relative to your feet will always be in the same place. So just ignore the visual, pick up your front foot towards your back shoulder. It's seriously that simple. Once you get that idea down, I don't want you to be thinking mechanically the whole time. I want you to look for some pressure on your back foot on the coping and see your front trucks landing on the deck, right? We're gonna focus on putting our front trucks in the spot that we want them, and you're just gonna jump to that spot, okay? We go over a highly technical process to make sure that everyone starts from the same place, everyone starts with the same education, but it's up to you to use your instincts and to be a little more target focused and just see the landing in your head and then build the trick from there. Technique is for troubleshooting. If you're not able to unlock your back wheels from the coping and get into the rock, you keep ending up over the deck, you can maybe take a quick look at the technique, maybe a video, make a small adjustment, and then get back to being a landing focused skater. Jumping high out of your blunt to fakies is one of the most important parts. So even though you're just working on blunt rocks right now, every time you do it, make sure you're jumping high to unlock your back trucks from the coping, because that will give you the best chance to have good blunts moving forward. And they look way better than not jumping. Let's get into blunt nose grab fakie. And if you're watching this video on YouTube, right now we have a live stream going where we're getting direct feedback from the viewers on tips and certain questions that should be answered in this video. If we're live right now, you'll see a little red circle around our name in the corner. If we're not, make sure you click that subscribe button so you can see every time we go live from the skate park and need feedback from you. And you get to watch the process, which is pretty cool. For a blunt nose grab fakie, we're just gonna focus on balance and jumping. We don't have to worry about the pop. This takes out a huge technical ability because you simply don't have to ollie. The main thing that we wanna do is just make sure that we can get down to our nose in a way that doesn't pitch us forward too far. So bend your back knee, grab your nose really strong with all 4 fingers on the wood. And when you jump off your back foot and pull your tail up to your back foot when you're in the air, right? You're gonna need some strength in your fingers and your wrist to pick that tail up and to keep the board on your feet. Generally, the only problem you'll run into is if you go too fast, you end up on the deck. Now it's really scary because you're gonna have to tip backwards to get into the ramp, and that feeling is terrible. So make sure you just stay in the ramp the whole time so you never get that feeling that you have to lean back. The balance would be exactly the same as, say, a moonwalk. this. To practice blunt nose grab fakies, we can bring this way low into the transition, and you can just do it on the ground. This will show you what it's like to get that jump rolling, how to really plant your tail on the ground, and honestly, just build confidence in that jump to leave the ramp, and you can feel which direction your body naturally wants to go. Once you get up to the coping, just be patient with gravity, because you're gonna hit the coping, you'll sit there for a second, and then it's gonna bring you back in. If you're in too much of a rush, you're gonna leave your board behind, and you'll end up running out of it like that. Go up, lock in, stop, let gravity take over again, and then jump and pull. Remember, this is a confidence builder. This will help you with balance and confidence, but it won't help you as much with the actual pop. A skill that is necessary for blunted fakies, it's called a power ollie. You can set up on a curb or a flat bar, and just try to ollie as high as you can off of it. You'll notice that the angle that your board is at when you do your ollie will determine the direction you go. So if I dip my nose low and then ollie, I'll go further. But the jump feels exactly the same. If I don't tip my nose as much and I just ollie straight up, I won't have that forward speed. We're gonna use that idea in our blunted fakies by ollieing from the other side of the rail, essentially. But since we're on flat ground, doing that on a rail is very difficult to clear those front trucks because you're gonna have to flatten everything out. Treat it just like a regular ollie. If you wanna ollie higher, drop your front foot lower on your board and just give it a proper jump. Feel a lot of pressure from your tail pushing into your back foot as you're prepping the ollie. It's cool to feel that thing bounce up in the air. That's exactly what it feels like to do a blunt. You can practice power ollies on curbs or stairs or whatever you want. We just used the rail for fun and to also up the difficulty just a little bit. How many can I do? I mean, that looks gnarly. I wish I could dip a little lower. I think I can. That's a good ollie. I'm just gonna land on the last stair. 5 was clean. Let's quit while we're ahead. It's important to understand that blunted fakies are just ollies. There is nothing different from popping out of a blunt than doing a regular ollie on flat ground. If you put your front foot lower, you can pop higher. If you put your front foot higher, you might have more stability. You might not be able to pop as much. The thing that is most important is that you are jumping through the grip tape. Your board will always pop directly through the grip tape. So if you sit your board down like this, you are gonna be jumping up into the air like that. Okay, if I jump up into the air with my front trucks this far over the deck, I have to clear so much space to get into the ramp. If I'm a little bit steeper, I can jump into the ramp this way, and it's very easy to clear my front trucks. Don't fool yourself and think that a blunt rock where you jump really high and somehow clear your entire board like this is somehow easier than just letting your board get steep, bringing your front foot into the ramp, and then missing the coping. get into the blunt and jump and do an ollie. Man, that one popped like crazy. All I'm focusing on is jumping the direction that I want. Okay, you can learn all the technical skills, but when it's time to actually perform the trick, what I'm seeing in my head, first I'm feeling the speed, get an overall rhythm in the ramp. I know exactly where my tail is gonna hit this coping, and I can visualize how much pressure I'm gonna feel on my back foot into the coping. So that's like my entrance. And then all I'm seeing besides that is where I'm gonna set my front trucks down. Okay, so I'm just seeing this motion is just repeating in my head. Where are these front trucks gonna hit the ground? Then all I'm trying to do is put my front trucks where I see them landing. Just very landing focused. The reason I'm not overly focused on the ollie or the blunt is like, we want to skateboard to make tricks. We don't want to skate just to try tricks, right? I don't care if your technique is perfect. If you're not coming at it, building it from the landing backwards in your head, it's hard to know what your goals really are. Like, okay, you had a great pop and a great ollie, and you got into the blunt perfectly. Where are you going? Like, if you're not oriented to a target, it's really hard to accomplish your goal, right? The rolling away is the goal. Just remember that. Woo! Now that you learned your blunt to fakies, it's up to you to have fun with them. Thanks for watching. Make sure you work hard at them, stay safe. We'll see you at the next video. Oh.